Let's talk about creating safe spaces in Castro.
Did somebody say recovery?
Let's talk about meetings, sex and recovery.
Sober sex? Did somebody say dick?
Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about...
Welcome. You are at the CCC.
Where there are no outside issues with Bonnie Violet.
And Lulu.
Each week, we will provide and create a brave space where we engage in conversations around topics of sobriety.
Absolutely. And our intention... Oh, yeah, I know.
No, go ahead.
And our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for people in recovery.
By tackling topics used to separate us.
And before we do that, please make sure that you like, share, and comment wherever.
That bell.
Wherever you're watching us. Hi, Bonnie.
Hi there. You know, I went to when we went live. I was in Facebook going to share it, and it said, "Oh, Lewis is watching this with you." I know. So I think we were the only two in there.
No, well, I went to it as well, and I panicked because I'm all if I move off of this, then I'm all my script anyway. That's why I need to memorize the script so that I can sign in. Well, welcome. Welcome. So, how was your week, and where in the world is Bonnie San Diego?
Right. Hi, Billy. Billy saying hello. I'm in Portland. I last night, yesterday I don't know, I'll talk about that. I think there's a good fear, courage conversation about my yesterday. But things are pretty good. I'm getting ready to trade houses of where I'm staying the next couple of days. So that should be cute. And I'm hosting an event here in Portland. Nice. It'll be like my first in-person hybrid event. And it's in a bar around drag and spirituality. So I'm excited about that.
And all of these things that are happening right now as a result of, your work through the Splinter Grace, is that correct?
A queer chaplain.
Queer chaplain,
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How about you?
You know what? Honestly, it's like this has just been a week. What did I do? Nothing. It's honestly, the only thing exciting that happened was the rain for me last week, and I like that. I was I think I talked about last week. I kind of rearranged my apartment. It already feels amazing. It's like it feels like my space because I was so concerned or caught up with setting it up so that I could invite people in. And like I said, I don't really want anybody. I'm really digging my space. That'll probably change. I mean, it'll change in a while, but right now I'm really kind of enjoying my space because there's still things that I need to do. Still certain things that are not put into place. It's not the space that I want it to be, but coming to this revelation that it's because of the size of the space, it needed to be set up so that it was functional for me, and it is. Mm-hmm. And I'm just I'm loving it. It's like I was watching TV, and I'm a yapping away, but I was watching TV, and I was sitting there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I love this. What I am going to do is I'm getting rid of that big couch that I bought. I'm going to get a nice, comfortable something that'll work for me. So,
nice.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're getting that. You're getting comfortable in your space.
I am. The other thing is I think it's kind of amazing that these are the things that I worry about now. I mean, there's a time where I just would not even take those things in consideration. Living in San Francisco, I consider myself when I started my recovery journey, I kept thinking of myself as transient, from the shelter that I was in to the rehab that I went to co-op, everything was transient and I wasn't settled. And even when I found myself with roommates, and I would never create this space for me. I wouldn't be concerned about kind of establishing a safe space for me. And now this is brand new, so I get to, though it's exciting, and yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm
Sounds
talking
super
about.
exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
I do recall that I did go to the opera, since
Oh,
the
nice.
last time we met, and I went to La Boheme,
Uh-huh.
or which is like, it's what Rent is kind of written from. So it was kind of cool to go and see that.
Right on. And the whole experience was, you had to wear a mask and all that stuff. How was it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We wore masks inside. You had to show your vaccination cards, all that sort of stuff. So it was great. And they had subtitles, because it's in a foreign language, and
Nice.
so it was great.
How did that work? Was there like a screen somewhere near?
Yeah, there was just kind of like this white strip across the top,
Because
and
I'm thinking
basically,
you're at live theater and it's
yep.
just I'm a buddy. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like closed captioning or subtitles just up above.
Oh, nice, nice. Hey, one last thing before we get to focus on our topic. So I signed in last night because my meetings were like lacking, and I signed into like an 8 o'clock California coastal meeting. And they have a new feature on the Zoom, or maybe they've had it all along, but it's closed captioning. And I guess I
Oh,
hadn't turned it off. So it's pretty cool.
hmm.
It's like, so, because I know that in the past we've talked about that, but access, it's a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, we had closed captioning for the conference. Just a little button you have to click when you set up the room. You can add it in there, and then folks can actually also request it if for whatever reason they can't locate it. So, but it's not something I think that just shows up for everyone. I think you just have to click a button saying that you want to see it.
Hang on. Do you think we have closed captioning?
Probably not in this. I mean, I know it'll show up on Facebook after the fact, but not
DJ
something
Wasabi,
live.
yeah, DJ Wasabi Guts is telling me we have it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So yeah, we have it. That's cool. So let's
Nice.
talk about our topic today. So it's interesting because we were going to talk about fear and insecurity, but Bonnie, being the brilliant Bonnie that Bonnie is, decided why don't we go the other side of it. So our topic
Mhm.
today is courage and strength and recovery. And the Castro Country Club just posted. You can join us, post your comments and questions, and participate in the conversation. So you want to get us started, Bonnie?
Sure, I can get it started. Yeah, it was because the topic, I did first bring it up as fear and insecurity. But yeah, I was like trying to think like how can we like talk about it from the other side of it, or like how we conquer those things. And then this morning I was thinking like, oh, I don't know if that's enough, because I was thinking people might click on wanting to hear about courage or strength, but maybe they'd click the fear button first. Who knows? Um, but, I mean, I've been experiencing a lot of that, like a lot of the fear and insecurity, over the last couple weeks. So that was kind of why it kind of drew on me, and I felt like a lot of, like base or like back to basic kind of recovery practices is kind of like a good response for that. And then yesterday I was in the ER yesterday. I didn't tell you this, but I was in the ER for like a few hours yesterday because my blood pressure was really high. Um, which I've never dealt with that before. But so now I don't know. Now, it's like all these sorts of things, but it was just wild to be somewhere and, have to go to an ER that I don't know in a city that I don't know as like a trans person, and then like being scared of, like, having a heart attack or whatever, and, like, it was just, like, a lot of, like, things coming at me at once. I was really surprised at, like, I was just really surprised by how much of it, like, came at me at once,
Uh-huh.
just, like, in that moment, and it was almost like the just the whole thing about, like, life and what's happening, I don't know, just kinda, like, really slapped me in the face. It was a lot.
Yeah, I know. So, and were you able to get any support, like, or were you alone through that experience?
I yeah, I was alone, at the ER or whatever. I was able to, like, text some folks and stuff, but, um, so I was kind of alone, and that was something for me that really brought up, like, I guess maybe, like, some of that loneliness stuff that
Yeah.
has been part of leaving, and being in this new place, and it was just definitely, like, I don't know, it's just like yeah, this traveling is something that, you know, it's difficult. It might
No,
sound
definitely.
like fun and stuff, but it definitely does have it have its challenges too.
Absolutely. Do you because of your experience yesterday, have you started to think of like the future and continuing, like, is there some things that you might like reconsider or think about differently and how you handle? Because I had issues with like my blood pressure. It was actually my
Mhm.
hypertension. And uh, I I used to wonder, like, when someone needed to take medication, why they would not take the medication or whatever. And until I started taking medication and realized I'm pretty defiant. And I've learned this amazing secret that the anxiety that I was dealing with for some time was closely related to my blood pressure. And as long as I am eating healthy and taking my medication on a regular basis and drinking water, I'm fine. And so yeah, it's like with that in mind, it's like, is there something that you were thinking like maybe I do differently? Because obviously,
Mm.
like you said, you're traveling on mine. It's like, oh my God, it's glamorous. Like, where in the world is Bonnie? But how are you kind of how are you looking at it, looking at managing this, like, moving forward?
Yeah, I'm just doing what I got a good education yesterday about like just blood pressure and checking my blood pressure and what to look out for. And, I'm just going to be like tracking my morning and evening blood pressure. I've had a concerning level of blood pressure for a while now, and it just kind of like went. I guess it's gone farther for whatever reason. They said, like I'm not overweight. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't a lot of the things, um, except for maybe remove salt, could be helpful in kind of reducing a little bit. But I will probably most likely consider medication. But they want to look and ensure that um, just ensure that it wasn't just a fluke, and kind of see what's going on and what's the best,
Right
I
on.
guess, best plan forward.
To speak to the topic, I think that um, the journey that you're on is pretty courageous. I feel like every day. Okay, so this idea of faith, all of the things that I do that are connected to my recovery. The fact that when I wake up and I leave the house and I go to work and I do those things and I pay my bills or whatever, this is faith that like I'm making the correct choices so that I can live the life that I want to live or live a better life. And I really feel like even with the fear and the challenges or whatever, I definitely see you as courageous because
Mm.
I've always been the type person where I need to know what's around the corner. And for me, kind of I can't I can completely understand the anxiety about like not having the connections and yeah.
Yeah, well, encourage isn't often not meaning not having fear. It's just meaning that you're like, it's like even if you're afraid, you move anyway, or it's
Mhm.
like, you just do it anyway, and some of it was courage, I think, in some ways, because I guess there's always choices, but it also just seemed like the most right. Like it just seemed like the thing to do, even if I wasn't excited about all the parts. It's like going to the ER yesterday when my doctors were like, you need to go. I was like, I don't want to, but I also, I want to do what I need to do to take care of things. So it's one of those things. And the hospital was pretty great as far as my transgenderness goes. I was more freaked out than they were.
Well, that's good because it's like I recently it's so easy again. It's so easy for me to take it for granted because and this is where my privilege lies. But so easy for me to take those things for granted because when I go in as a cis man, I know that I'm not going to have to worry about them misgendering me or doing anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, and part of it is always also just like the waiting room. There's lots of people in the waiting rooms not knowing whose it is, and then they call, "Hey, Bonnie Violet." They call me by my name, Bonnie Violet, which is great, but then I show up, and then I don't often feel like I look trans enough or whatever that means. And so then you just don't know. I don't know. It's just like it brings up all those levels of coming out and existing in the way that I am in so many places that you just don't even think about. You know what I mean? Until you're like there, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to take my shirt off for the EKG. Like they're gonna see where my breasts are growing. Like I haven't ever, you know what I mean? Like so it was
Yeah.
just like those sorts of things that you don't really think about until all of a sudden it's like I don't have a choice and I have to move forward and let some of these things just sort of happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. I'm really grateful for the fact that that experience wasn't traumatic. I mean, it was, but not in the way that
Yeah.
you may have expected. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
so
definitely could have been a lot worse. It was good. It was just, I think there were like I said, there was just a lot more emotions that came to play for me that I just wasn't expecting. I was checking in and the girl was asking me questions and I started crying and I couldn't speak and I'm like, I'm really sorry. I don't know why I'm emotional. And she's like, it's okay. She's like, you seem like an empath and there's a lot like there's a lot of energy in here. It's a hard place to be. But you know, it was whatever.
mm,
I'm still processing it, like it was just last night. So so I'm just still kind of processing it and again like just talking about it, listening
absolutely.
to listening to my doctors, just doing the things that I need to do. Um so that I can at least again just kind of keep going at it in the best way possible. Um, instead of that ignorance is bliss kind of situation where I think I often sometimes just ignore things
Yeah.
until I absolutely have to, and
Yeah.
that's not
Like,
cute.
do
So
anything till we're in enough pain. And it's like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I've been Billy will appreciate this, but I've been reading a lot of Brene Brown, and one of the things that I see from the relationship we're having as a result of doing this podcast is that the level of vulnerability. We
Mm,
put our, I mean, anytime you put yourself out there, for scrutiny, um, it's tough because obviously I want to be accepted. I want people to think that I know what the hell I'm talking about and see me and like, yeah, this, and it's, I mean, we're putting ourselves out there. So again, I just appreciate like what you bring, your honesty,
mm.
and thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it's just kind of where I'm at today. It's like sometimes you get in those spaces where I don't know, and yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So moving, okay, okay, and this has become like the interview Bonnie show. Well, right now because right now I think that your life, what you're doing, I mean, it's brave and it's pretty interesting and exciting. It's like, um, so you're processing, but what what's for you? What's the next step? You know?
Yeah, as far as like um
Well, I know that like obviously you have like events that you're doing, things that are going on or whatever. How do you maintain? I mean, it's like, I, how do you keep that fear from like and the frustrations? How do you keep going? That's what I'm
yeah.
wondering.
Yeah, how do I keep going? It's been a little bit more difficult lately. It just feels very like kind of in just the way that you were sharing about having your place, at the beginning at the top of the show where you were talking about what it's nice to just kind of have that grounding or whatever. And that's something that I'm just getting used to is not having that groundness. I miss my community. I miss getting to like uh leave the house even when I don't want to and run into people that I know. Whereas like leaving the house here is a little bit more of a journey to get anywhere. And every space is a little bit different. So I think the big thing for me, and it's hard because I'm also in a state of a lot of need and a lot of vulnerability. Like a lot of people are being so kind and generous to me. And so it's even more difficult for me to ask for help in those situations. It's like to ask for more, and sometimes so that has been I think one of the most challenging things for me is asking for help, and then just being in this place of ambiguity and uncertainty and a loss of agents. I don't know. It feels like, I guess, the insecurity, right? I feel less secure, I think, because I'm in control, or like I'm not in control of everything.
Yeah.
Not that I ever am, but I'm definitely have a lot less. The control that I have is that I have to give in. I get to be the bottom. I get to be the receiver.
Yeah.
And it's been. I think I'm learning a lot and I'm growing a lot from it. It's just it's just uncomfortable, and I've had a hard time like going to recovery meetings here, and then connecting with people, and then it's cool to connect with people on the phone and that sort of thing. But even now, it's like most people don't even call me anymore, which I'm not like boo-hooing. Those are just like those are just the things that happen as we get further away from people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's just, and so I'm just kind of saying all that. I don't Now I'm feeling really yeah, but now I'm feeling like concerned about being judged or making anyone feel bad. I'm just sharing what's
I
in my
know, I know.
head.
It's exactly what we're talking about. It's like you're putting yourself out there, and in a way that, like, I'm Barbara Walters right now, and I'm gonna make you cry.
Right.
No, I think that it's important. You know what? I think it's important you talk about it, because I, I, as much as we might think that people are in the well, we all have our own thing going on, and sometimes we don't know what the other person needs, and
Yeah.
because we don't know to ask the right questions or whatever. So hearing it is so like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing that I have to, I don't, I'd right or wrong, the thing I just have to, I just have to remind myself of like the reason why I made the decision, to remind myself that I'm not alone. Like those sorts of things, and not like get into that, into like the thinking of all of that as well.
Yeah, and I think, how, like, when we first came into recovery, it's like, obviously the phone doesn't ring if I don't use the phone.
Yeah.
Um, I, I guess the encouragement is to reach out to the people that you were closest and you feel comfortable and confident with, and
Yeah.
not to make the assumption that, because honestly, it's amazing how much time can go when you let it go, how much
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
can pass by. Well, I was gonna do this, I was gonna do that, and the truth of it is, it's like, you know, better do it now. Like, I tell my
Hmm.
sponsors, yeah, it's never too late to call me. Like, call me now. If you're listening, call me now.
Yeah. I think for me in general too, like, I mean, like friends, connections, that sort of thing. But I think I've just been reaching a part of my life where I I'm exhausted at doing, and it's feeling like I want a life partner. Like I would
Oh,
love to like be in a couple with someone, or have more of a that sort of connection, not because I have to, like I'm not desperate for it, but it would definitely be nice to have, somebody who's with me,
no,
as
absolutely. It's
as we
natural.
go through these things.
It's natural. I'm unnatural because I'm still at the place where I don't want we're, like, on the opposite sides of the street, you know? Or maybe it is I'm in denial. It's like I'm in
Mm.
denial about it, but no, I can absolutely appreciate it. It would be, for me, I always think it would be wonderful to have somebody to cuddle with, and then when I'm done cuddling, they can clock out and go. But,
Yeah.
that's not how it works, because you don't get to it's kinda like with kids, you don't get to turn those emotions on and off.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
what I find really interesting. Okay, so we wanted to approach this from that courage and bravery, but the fear and insecurity it's important to talk about that. It's absolutely important to talk about that, and then we can talk about the connection to, like, we were reading, we're reading about body shaming,
Mm,
and things of that nature. And I mention this because one of the points that Brene had made, she was interviewing guys, and it came down to talking about sex. And I guess what after the pot was boiled and it was boiled down completely, uh, we all have fear and insecurity around like sex and acceptance and all of that good stuff and whatever. And it's amazing how like if you pay close attention, like all the things in your life kind of connect the way they need to. Like it almost feels
Mhm.
like I've always believed in synchronicity, but if I like listen carefully, like I feel like my higher powers telling me a story, at least encouraging me through through all of these different ways to kind of figure out the things I need to figure out for myself.
Right.
Now,
Well, and I think one of the things that is brave or courageous is to be able to show your humanity, right? Like, because, and I think that's where we connect to, it's like I can have moments where I'm not talking with someone, I'm like not like whatever, but then I don't know, you just able to share like what's really going on or, good, bad, or the otherwise, or a hug or like whatever. Those sorts of things can really, I don't remember where I was going with that,
no,
but
I get it. Recovery has really helped me with that because there was a time where I listened to the voices in my head that I let them be louder than the voice of God in my head.
yeah.
And I believe that the people, even when they told me that they cared and they wanted to hear the things that they didn't want to hear, and so I chose not
Mm,
to share. And situations that have happened recently, especially in committee work and whatever, when I was making assumptions about how another person was functioning or operating or whatever, and not speaking to them, but
mhm,
as a result of recovery and getting over my chief self, as Miss Billy would say, I was able to kind of have a conversation in a graceful way and talk about some of my fears and some of
mhm,
my what I would thought I was feeling, and get to a place where okay, maybe this was just in my head. I was having that dialogue in my head where no one else was involved, and
right.
I was finishing, and I think that. When we talk about the gifts of recovery, like we talked about a while ago, that to me is like, I get to work through the craziness that keeps me from connecting with people because
Mhm,
I I create this dialogue that has nothing to do with what's really going on. And granted, maybe some of it's true,
right.
whatever, but I don't have to be a slave to it. I don't have to lose myself in that.
It might even be worse than you think. But I
Yeah,
think
well, but the fact that I'm willing to have the conversation to find out, to work through it, because I think that even if it is worse, then it's like, it's I I think it's better to kind of get to the root than to
Mhm,
kind of imagine it myself. Because you know, if I assume I know what's going on and it's not really, I mean, it's just not fair to anybody involved. But if I find out that that's the case, then I can act accordingly, hopefully.
yeah, well, and that's like, you kind of have to break that wall of the roles, and I think that we do that through sharing our humanity. So that person in the committee is no longer the person who bugs you or the whatever they are, right? Like maybe they're the chair and you're the whatever. And when people are in those roles, we can get to a space where okay, you're in this role, I'm in that role, and we're just doing our role. And then we can get upset and whatever, and we're mad at the chair. I'm not mad at Lulu, right?
Yeah,
Whereas if I was looking at the chair as Lulu, I could say, "Hey, Lulu, like I am having a hard time with this. Like I don't know if this is my shit. I don't know if this is your shit, but like I'm like this is hitting me in a weird way right now, and I'm not sure what to do with it."
absolutely.
And it, yeah,
Go ahead. You were gonna say?
no, go ahead.
I feel like for this one specific situation, uh, it strengthened our relationship after. It allowed me to have a good have an experience that I felt like was quality, like it elevated the quality of it because in the past I probably would have held it in and begrudgingly did the work
Hmm.
throughout the weekend and then um, maybe character assassinated the person all weekend, you know, and as a result of like when I was feeling what I was feeling, rather than letting it build up to the point where I could I couldn't even have a conversation. I just had the conversation, and I had a conversation in a loving way. I said, you know what, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I see, and maybe it's not real, maybe it's not
Hmm.
true. But can you help me understand where you are, and so we can get to a better place. And uh, yeah, I feel like
Well, that's how
twice.
we get,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's how we get stronger. Just to go like to the strength, like that's how we get stronger. That's how we get better at being in relationship with others, and we can, kind of overcome things that we haven't been able to overcome, have conversations with people we haven't been able to have, and then potentially be in positions and have things that we've never had before because we didn't really, we didn't have the strength for it. We didn't know how to do it. Whereas I think, I don't know. So I think vulnerability is a big key to strength and strength building.
Absolutely. I feel like for those of you listening or watching, it's important to know. I think that it's it's tougher in the beginning, or like when you first start like taking these risks, like stepping outside of your comfort zone and advocating for yourself, if you will. I don't know, like loving yourself, or advocating is probably the best. But the more that you do it, it almost becomes second nature. It's like anything else. It's like when you practice it and you practice it, you practice it, you put it into practice, you make it a something that you do. It
Hmm.
becomes easier. And like you said, it's like that's where the strength comes from.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
And me getting into recovery, I mean, a lot of my recovery around substance use, and the reason why I used was to like keep myself from experiencing the pain, either numbing the pain, distracting me from the pain, that sort of thing. And so like I had to become, like me getting sober and becoming courageous didn't mean that I get to avoid that pain. I actually I get to sit through that pain and work through that pain and experience that pain so that it can actually be gone. And that's like the great thing about recovery too. It's like, and I do that, like only I know what's going on and only I know my pain, but knowing that other people have gone before me and have had a similar experience and have done some of the similar things, it helps me feel more strong, and like I'm not alone in going through that process of sitting through that pain or going through that difficulty. Um, yeah.
I was thinking about like for anybody who participates in active like recovery, or like who goes on that journey, the level of courage that it takes to kind of face yourself. I think
Hmm.
that like when I came into the rooms, when I came into recovery, I was holding myself with kid gloves. I was only able to pay attention to the things that I could like process, or I could pay attention to. And as a result of continue doing the work, because it takes a combination of like not drinking or using or doing whatever substance you're doing, but also doing some sort of work to enlarge your spiritual life, to kind of grow you, to change you. And as you're doing that stuff, uh, the one constant is like uh, changes. Like I say, change is inevitable, and uh, you also are going to get to see what you look like with the curtain pulled. You know,
Right, right.
no more. What is that Wizard of Oz thing going? It's like you see the truth, and
Yeah.
I think that definitely the thing that we learn, and how we have a part in everything that we do, whatever. Because it was so easy for me to want to put everything on everyone else, and when I got to that point where I'm like, oh wait a minute, it's like while and I've changed my tune, but while the choices I made, especially like I was talking about before to Billy, um, I a while back I had I, some brilliant thing. I had gotten one of these really high interest loans, and that was for hardly anything, and ended up paying. I might as well have chopped off my arm and given that to them
Right.
with a little sauce or something. And it wasn't my highest choice, but it was my choice. And
Hmm.
as I've worked my recovery, I've looked at things that way, and it's been kind of empowering for me. Uh, to just take ownership of it, to own it, to understand that whatever, that's where I was, and
Hmm.
I'm not there now, and that if I pay attention to just that, that's enough to kind of give me hope that, like, what I'm doing is right, and I'm constantly getting better. And I think that that gives me courage, and that strength, that fortifies me, because that means that the work I've been doing is working, it's
Hmm.
working at it. And I see the road ahead of me, and there's so much more growth, and potential.
Right, right.
You
Yeah, it
know,
makes me think of like the promise, like when we were talking about the gifts too. It's like that. What was the like the ability to do what we couldn't do? What was the
t-
that line?
uh, will sub baffle us. Will
Yeah,
understand.
do things that used to baffle us or something like
Yeah,
that. Yes, as I'm baffled.
like remember. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, yeah. And that, I mean, that happens all the time as I get older, where I start finding myself, um, coming to know and understand things that I didn't understand before. And like, I think the other part, like with the courage, is the perseverance to, I think oftentimes I have a friend who is dealing with a relapse again, and
mhm.
a relapse, and he said he's starting, oh, he has to start all over and all this sort of stuff. And I was just kind of like, do you and are you really, like, I think that's the thing that has been helpful for me. It's like sometimes all the things that are happening around us seem so familiar that it's like we've been there before, but the truth is we haven't, because we're not the same person that we were. We don't see things in the same way. You know what I mean? So it's like
Absolutely.
yes, you might be having a similar experience and like getting a lot of the similar results, but at the end of the day, you are a different person than you were the last time you were in this situation. And so that can cause you to have a different experience and hopefully give you some hope or courage that you're going to have um, a better opportunity at getting better results if you failed the last time, right? And what it takes is just the perseverance to keep going. And I think also it is helpful to know that you're not just beating your head up against the wall, or that you're constantly running into the same wall. It's like, no, that's not the truth. You actually are running into a different wall,
Yeah, exactly.
that looks a lot like the one that hit you before, you know?
Yeah. No, no. On that topic of relapse, for some reason that I've changed what I've been saying. That my fellows who relapse said, you know what, just get back up on that horse. You know how to do it.
Mm,
That's it. I think that I had a friend early in recovery, when I was making other people shit about me, um, point out that the best way I could be of service is just to kind of um, be there and loving and support. And so
mhm,
uh, I've also found that, the truth of me is that I'm probably not the all wishy-washy, not
mm.
wishy-washy, mushy. And so to go
Yeah,
there
and
with all this bubbly shit might not be
it
what. So it's like, just get back up on the horses, do it. Keep coming back, like we say.
mhm. Yeah, and just that made me think, I don't know if it's related with the topic or not, just
We're every
the I know we're like
Oh,
all
no,
over
that's
the
okay.
place.
I love talking. Go ahead.
We're all over the place today, and I forgot what I was gonna say.
What
Dang.
I know something you can talk about right now. You just threw it on the bed. Show us the pillow.
Oh, yeah. It's
Unfortunately, for you guys just listening, you can't see this lovely pillow, but tell us about the pillow bunny.
Yeah, so I have merch, which sounds really gross, but I have merch and it says Sleep Sexy Serene, which is like for folks who follow me on social media, I have been posting Sleep Sexy Serene for, I don't know when that started, like over a decade ago. And so it always comes in a little bit different iterations, but it's always Sleep Sexy Serene, which means like get your beauty sleep, um, sleep well, all that sort of stuff's just kind of, and good night all in one. But
Nice.
yeah,
Well, make sure
yes.
when we you'll tell us where they can get it, like later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I just got
So
it today, so it's like it's cozy.
hold on. Maybe I'll get one. so I
Yeah.
can sleep. Yeah, no, because I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Anyway,
It doesn't guarantee sleep. It doesn't do that.
if you
So
if you put a vibrator, like you know how you have those pillows that you put your head on, it's like zzz.
yeah, I think there's a yeah, you could just unzip it and stick it right in there.
Oh, you're twisted. You can unzip it and just right
Just
on.
stick No, I meant the pillow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah,
So, do
I
you
know I'm
feel like
trying.
we've? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know how much more to say. I feel like I
Well,
don't have anything more to say.
I could have spent the whole hour kind of grilling you on like your choices uh, because like I said, it's like I'm living vicariously through you. I mean, it's like things are things are fine, but it's like uh I have a different sitting here now. I have a different perspective because I I, I took it. I didn't think of where you were and where you sat with that. So I can really
Mm,
like leaving the conversation. I can appreciate some of the challenges. I'm also kind of reminded like when it reminded me like when I was uh I packed up my place and I went to when I early recovery and I went into detox, and then I packed everything up and I stayed for I believe 3 to 4 months at a shelter, and
mm,
it was a, I completely get it. It was a time where I just didn't feel like you said, like I had agency, like like I was floating around and I didn't have anything to
mhm,
kind of ground me, and I think that feeling it's scary, it's uncomfortable, it's that feeling of uncertainty. Like I was saying, it's like
mhm.
I like to know what's around the corner.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and I think it's just something I need to, like, I think that's part of this journey is for me to, like, learn how to let go of that, it's like, I feel very, like, like, I have a lot of gratitude, to be in the position that I can do these sorts of things. So I know that, you know what I mean? It's like, so you can know
yeah,
that and then also still have this sort of, like, different feeling, but I've never been good at, uh, showing up for myself. I'm getting better at showing up for myself and asking for what I need and receiving what I need, um, which is something I've had been challenged to do most of my life. I'm somebody who gives, and I've had plenty of people in my home, and you've done all these sorts of things. But for whatever reason, now that I'm on the other end, it's like, but I don't know.
no,
It's
absolutely, absolutely. No, I
yeah,
think that it's important to notice that like you can be in a place of gratitude, but also in the place where you are. Like I think these
yeah,
feelings or experiences can kind of coexist.
yeah, and
And
it might be. I think eventually they say we go verse when we get older. Is that what they say?
okay,
No. Well, just in the sense of, like, being so, just if whatever, like, if I was being more, um, top energy, if you will, in the way that I lived my life and how I was in my life, and again, that's a very generalized kind of statement. But, yeah, yeah, and so,
I
yeah,
guess maybe another way of looking at it is that we adapt.
we
we
do.
we're more adaptable. It's like I'm not so that way it's like I don't have to worry about like put it
Right.
getting all of a sudden waking up with bottom energy. But you know what? I feel like we should have a discussion about this whole idea of switching. Like what
Switching.
well switch. 'Cause you know how you have masculine, feminine, or whatever, and you have
Mm,
the dominant and submissive, but being a switch, and this is a whole deeper conversation, but being a switch is like you can be um, uh, a
a dom
submissive
or a
top
sub.
or a dominant bottom. No more
Mhm.
dominant bottoms. Yeah. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so why don't I was going to tell everybody, so because we're wrapping up, we're coming to the end of this lovely conversation, that you can reach me at LouisLou86 on Instagram. I'm starting to shift and change what my content looks like because it's all fun and games. The other thing is like I don't have it posted, but it's like I'm also going to be coming out with merch soon. But it's
Yay.
yeah, it's like stay tuned.
Nice. And folks can find anything and can connect with me at Queer Chaplain everywhere. And then I noticed Stephen Kling has a comment that I thought
Ooh,
we might just
Steven.
share.
Hi,
Uh,
Steven.
Stephen says, it's really hard to show up for myself when I'm in a messy place. I'm super glad to be on the right track and I'm grateful for the hard times also. They serve as a reminder that I can't go back. What a great way to
Absolutely.
end the
I
show.
know, and you know what I will say about that, like, you know, in program we talk about first things first. Sometimes when things aren't like right, I focus on, like, if you focus on what you can focus on in front of you, that's all you can do, you know.
Yep.
And but I think that, again, going back to and lifting you up, Bonnie, being able to talk about it because it's so fresh, but being able to talk about it, process it, that's a good start. That opening your mouth, communicating, letting people in. I mean, and showing, like I said, showing your humanity, because that's showing your
Mhm.
humanity. That, hey,
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I'm not
And I
flawless. I
wasn't
have. Go
so
ahead.
I wasn't holding the podcast hostage.
No, no, not at all. Not at all. No, 'cause
Yeah.
I absolutely appreciate it. So
Awesome.
I just want to remind the children that the Castro Country Club is a a gathering place for all people and a home for the queer recovery community. We're located in the heart of the Castro district of San Francisco, and we endeavor to be a space where all can seek wisdom, serenity, courage, and joy. Courage, we said courage again. And you can find more information at castrocountryclub.org.
And one way you could reach out to us is you can contact us and leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you. You can do that through our Speak Pipe. The link is in the description or on the screen if you are watching. You can
Yes, and
watch. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
I don't remember where we're at.
I said, you can look for us at the CCC where you view podcast or where you
Hmm.
listen to your podcast, and email us at castrocountryclub.org.
And
And
join us each week at 4 p.m. ish
I know
Pacific
we started
Standard
a month
Time.
ago. We were
On
getting dates to drag queen stuff.
I know, right, right, right. Yeah, so all you need are the links are in the description. So just
Absolutely, and remember to like, comment, and share, and follow,
share.
and subscribe, and do whatever you do
Yeah,
wherever you do.
ding that bell. Ding that bell
Yes.
so you get notifications.
Yes, thank you again, and join us next week where we'll be talking about stuff.
Stuff. All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.